that has experience. I've learned, experience before together as a competitive team in Battlefield, but we haven't seen them in Gundam Evolution very much. Clearly, based on just the games that we've seen from them so far, they are extremely high-level players, but we've never seen them go up against Inarizaki. And Inarizaki, a strange team in the fact that they have been switching around their roster, trying to figure out their roles for the players that they do have, and extremely strong team, right? I mean, second place at the first GENL tournament, the Pilot Showdown that we had about a month ago. But now these two teams, I don't think have any experience against each other. I'm very curious how it's going to go.
We're still seeing, like, fundamentally, though, they know how to play the game well. So we're not questioning their experience whatsoever. Right now, it's coming down to who's better on the day, whose DPS are dishing out more consistent damage, especially when it comes down to this Pale Rider meta that we currently have. Listic was definitely one of those players that we saw from Inarizaki that was consistently just mowing people down on that Pale.
Yeah, Pale Rider Pale Rider damage has been really key to a huge amount of the wins that we've seen throughout the weekend. And yeah, we've seen some very, very strong ones. Listic, I know that there was a tweet going out asking, who everybody thought their MVP was. I think people should be looking out for that. I think we're going to be asking that a little bit later. But I did see that a lot of people were saying Listic, and for a very good reason. But they've just got a strong team in general, of course, on the side of Inarizaki. And yeah, I mean, obviously both these teams extremely strong. This is what I love to see, right? Is teams that I've never seen play against each other, and I have no idea how they're going to fare against each other, actually play in even the top three of a tournament. So I'm very excited. And of course, again, I gotta say, if anybody didn't watch Inarizaki's match against Powerpuff Girls, the very last match of yesterday's brackets, or kind of leading up to this top three, this broadcast, please go and watch it. Please, please, please. It was so incredibly good. There's some ridiculous plays, but after that, it felt to me like Inarizaki, even through that match itself, were really learning to kind of gel together even more and more as time went on. Both of those teams, that seemed to be the case for me. So I feel like they're probably going to be playing better if they make it back up to grand finals than they were the first time that they fought Bozos. But of course, they have to earn that right. And Gundam Unicorn, who, by the way, naming yourself Gundam Unicorn, naming yourself the name of a unit that's actually in the game, that is mean. That is mean for commentators. That is banned. Please change your name, please.
Yeah, as well, I just want to take a moment to ask, everyone in the audience right now, head over to Match Arena where you can check out, of course, the brackets, but not only just check out the brackets, but you can contribute to the prize pool. There are multiple ways that you can. You will see on the right-hand side, once you get on to the Match Arena page, all you have to do are simple things like follow someone or follow an account on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube. Little things like that will add on to the pool. We currently have a pool of about $508 for this tournament, and your help will, of course, increase that. It does look like we have our bans and picks coming in for this losers finals match. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Our first ban coming in, it's gonna be Underground Command Center.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's just getting banned so much. I'm still really curious why. But, we did see the one time that we saw it played most recently in this actual tournament. We saw the really, really tough time that it was to try to break through that choke point. I want to say in between the first 2 points, right outside of the second spawn, I guess, that you get on the attacking side. There's that little tunnel. It's very difficult to get through before you can get to the relay, or even once you get to the relay, you can kind of get choke pointed once again. So maybe people just don't like playing that on attack, and so it's understandable for a ban.
Yeah, and then we have, of course, Harbor City coming in as our second ban, just like in our first match. And our first pick is actually going to be Quarry, I believe. Although, wait, no, never mind. It's going to be Flak Fort, actually, for our first pick. And our second map will be Quarry.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Huge surprise to see the Flak Fort again. No, we're definitely starting to see a pattern, but that's what I was really excited for this tournament, is that we have not had, again, map picks and bans coming out throughout pretty much, as far as I know, any single Gundam Evo tournament that we've had in this region. So I wanted to see what were going to be the kind of the go-tos, the neutral maps, the ones that people try to kind of switch over to take advantage of their play styles, or the maps that people just don't want to see at all. And Harbor City, I expected to not see it at all. We did see, of course, it coming out one single time in Inarizaki now with a 0% win rate in this tournament on that map. It was close. But understandable, you wouldn't want to see it. It can be a very strange map, and there's a lot of maps that can be pretty strange, but Flak Fort, I love seeing the fights on Flak Fort. The fights at pretty much every single point in Flak Fort are very entertaining, and just the way that teams decide to position or how aggressive they choose to be in them on offense or on defense, where they decide to hold. I'm a big fan of the map in general.
Yeah, my big question here is that, well, Gundam Unicorn already got their warm-up round up against Team Bozos on Flak Fort. We saw them play very reactive in responding to the dive and the flank coming out from that Bozo squad. Do they feel like they need to play that similar style, or can they be a little bit more aggressive the way that Team Bozos were holding on that point A? I mean, we saw at the beginning of the day yesterday a lot on Flak Fort that a lot of the Pale Riders were starting on that right-hand side, but I think because of that threat of Duke, they might have had to change their game plan up just a little bit.
Yeah, Duke, of course, very infamous, especially for being very like flanky on the Exia, which obviously you want to be quite flanky on the Exia, but you know, Duke is really like kind of the master of doing that. Of course, on the side of Inarizaki, we have Glitch, who's also an infamously extremely strong player who, you know, it'll be interesting to see overall how their team decides to go as far as flanks. I think actually the biggest thing is we saw a lot of the Barbados pick, right, on the previous day. I'm not sure if we're going to see it again or if we're going to be switching to a more normal comp, which we did see some of it as well from Inarizaki. But of course, once you have the Barbados, then you really have to be more, you know, aware of who's going to be flanking you. If you're ending up against a double melee team, you mentioned earlier, triple melee is something that certainly happens a good amount. Of course, we don't have the Zaku 2 melee, but this is probably the closest that we could get is Inarizaki's play, just with the suits that their team is really comfortable with. I really have no idea, though. I mean, we've seen both of these teams fall barely to on this map to Bozos, so they're both really good at the map, but again, against each other, it's just so hard for me to get a read still when we haven't seen these teams play against each other.
Yeah, so no question here though, Flak Fort, it seems like it is just how we are going to start a lot of our series now. Again, we're seeing so many great styles coming in, but it does come down to a lot of the focus on the teams, players that are coming in and who you really want to deal with. Duke, it can't be understated just how much of a presence he had across both maps in our first series of the day. So maybe things do open up for them. Again, let's go ahead and talk about the compositions. We are, of course, seeing Exia's Pale Riders along with the Sazabi in play. A lot being opened up in that regard because of, in fact, I would like to say because we don't have that melee Zaku in play. I mean, melee Zaku just goes in, is able to dish out so much damage with that rolling slash, and the Sazabi really can't do much about it. But here we go, going into our first map of our losers finals. Only one team can move on, keep their tournament hopes alive, and face off against Bozos for their rematch in the grand finals. It is going to be Team Gundam Unicorn starting off on the defense first. That means Inarizaki will be attacking.
I want to know if these picks are real.
Ooh.
We are seeing a Jim and a Mahiru, which are both some pretty unique picks as far as things go. We do see, I mean, we see some Mahiru picked every once in a while. I mean, we saw it actually earlier on this point, just for, I think, just one push. But I don't know if we're going to actually see them stick with this.
We'll find out in just a moment. It should be a very similar defensive hold that we saw coming out from our squads when it came down to point A, but it does look like they do swap off. The Meth's getting picked up along with that Ashamar. There's just a little bit more sustain. No bridge push coming out from Inarizaki here. They're going to give them a little bit more respect and just play underneath.
They know that I want to see the Jim. They know that I want to see the Mahiru, both of those. So they're just trolling. But no, I'm glad that we're going to see this kind of their optimal comps. We're not going to see the Barbados coming out in this map, and we are going to see, of course, the hold inside the building. Nobody's pushing forward, but wow, what a pick!
Yeah, you can see why. Making that cross against main there. And this is the similar kind of proactive defense that we saw coming out from the Bozo squad. So as soon as you get the first picks, push out, find a little bit more. So Hayes going to go down, and that's going to be a complete reset on the side of Inarizaki.
Yeah, I don't think so far on any of these offensive pushes that we've seen on point A here on Flak Fort have we seen such a, I don't even know how to say it, like we've never seen so many picks before they even attempt to push in. They're holding that crossing so well. Look at that, there are so many people on that bridge. That is just a laser beam directly shooting outside of that door. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, you saw the Dom damage as well, along with the nade. Just so much AoE, and the Pale Rider almost going down. He does have the Meth's heal. That means he's actually been forced off height. He's going to try and play a little bit low. Needs some sort of presence in the back line. Bozos, they were able to succeed because they were able to pull them back. Glitch is the first one to fall here. And now Inarizaki are sent packing once again to regroup.
Yeah, this hold is so strong. I mean, we saw how well Gundam Unicorn in that last set can hold this particular building, and Inarizaki just have not found their big moment. We haven't seen the big attempts to flank that worked so well from Bozos. They're just really honestly pushing in here, and it looks like this should be a safe place to get a res, but in the meantime, so many other of their teammates are going down.
Ooh, they might be able to find at least a pick onto one, but again, these trades are not working out in their favor. Hayes on that re-knock, and they only have that Pale Rider up here in presence. And so already, the first two pushes getting swatted down. No progress made, essentially, on that first point. No ticks picked up by Inarizaki. Great hold coming out from Gundam Unicorn.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned this before, but Gundam Unicorn, they were just in, I mean, such a really intense set, so they are very much warmed up as far as just being completely in the zone, and Inarizaki might take them a little bit, but they don't have that opportunity. You know, I don't know how they warmed up before this, but right now, they're just not finding a good way to break into this building. Again, you know, not really a close-up challenge on that platform that we've seen the Pale Riders go on to. It looks like we are going to see some picks finally.
It looks like both sides utilizing their energy cable along with the Hades, but the defense is holding a little bit stronger there, especially with the Trans Am coming in and that Ashmar finding one more. So the push from Inarizaki swatted down, but they do end up picking up one tick. We'll see if they can get a little bit more. Nox has fallen though, and Glitch will be the next to fall, and that is the remaining members of Inarizaki on point going down. So now another regroup, and Inarizaki are left with 2 minutes here on point A.
Yeah, not much time at all, and only one tick. That's so tough. I mean, they got the, I think, approach from a different direction. This really far back hold has been working really well. We see the Dom pushing in, just getting a few little pot shots off on the Sazabi, but I just don't know how they can actually clear this out without even attempting a flank.
Yeah, 3 minutes, no Screaming Nimbus here. Gundam is going to be used on the Gundam Unicorn side. They find both flyers here and only trade away for that Exia. This stream does go down as James does get res back on up, and now Gundam Unicorn has sent them back with only basically time for one final push. And the G maneuvers that are coming up, we have the tunnel 20% away, 12% away finally now for our Dom player here. The Screaming Nimbus might be what they need to get them off that high ground, but this is coming a little bit late.
Yeah, I feel like they really need to maybe just not even commit quite yet to using their G maneuvers, maybe save it for one even final push after this. But we're actually seeing, I believe there was a G maneuver on the, actually, okay, everything's getting popped on both sides. Not that there's all that much to even use on the side of Inarizaki. It looks like the Trans Am was getting a little bit of mileage, but the Exia went down before all that much. However, okay, finally all the picks coming out. They finally get the high ground, and it looks like they should be able to, I think, take this point.
Yeah, Trans Am was enough for them, but there's still some resistance on the points. Regardless, though, Inarizaki will break through onto point A, and we will get a continuation of this map now going over to point B. Time added on for Inarizaki. They've got the Screaming Nimbus push up through this choke.
Yeah, not much time at all. This feels like we're playing an overtime map at this point, you know, just the speed that they need to push. Of course, to get extra 3 minutes is going to give them a little bit of leeway to try and build up a lot of those G maneuvers that they potentially used to try and get that first point, but they do not have very much leeway at all. You know, we've seen a lot of 6 minute at least times going into the second point. Not this time. 3 minutes is rough, but nice. That great usage of that Screaming Nimbus gets a lot of picks, and already they are pushing way better on B than they were on A.
They've got the Sazabi tunnels as well. Unfortunately for them, they ended up losing out on their Pale Rider, but he'll be coming back with that Hades ultimate, and they have a high ground established as well. The tunnels come out for Sazabi. We've got the energy cable being popped as well. I don't know exactly who it's on. It looks like it's the Exia getting into the back line, and the Hades should be activated shortly here for that retake. 3 ticks coming in now for Inarizaki. They had trouble on point A, but it looks like point B is a little bit easier for them. But the trades are coming in finally for Gundam Unicorn as Pale Rider listing goes down. That's going to be the reset now. But 3 ticks were taken by Inarizaki.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, what a push. After having just no success pushing A for almost the entire time, that first push on B was incredible. It looked like they were just an inch from taking it, but now they actually do have a decent amount of leeway. Not a ton of leeway, but they're getting there. If they can just find the same picks that they found last time, of course, that Screaming Nimbus is not going to be available for at least one more push, but they're going to have time now to really rebuild some G maneuvers for one big final push, which we've seen can work very well on this point B, and that's really how most people take it. Oh, but the pick on the Exia, I don't even think he was aiming for the Exia.
It was a trade for a trade there. XZ was low in the back line. Now the Dom as well, but James will get brought back on up. Inarizaki putting a lot of focus, getting onto the high ground, getting Listic that angle for himself. There is one caught out. That's going to be the Dom, and Listic is able to push up for that, but the Trans Am is coming in on the other side. 2 pickoffs. Profi finds one onto X-Ray there. That's a Zabi trade. Now Kylar left to his ones, trying to deal with that threat up top, and it looks like the defense will send them back, and that's going to leave Inarizaki basically with one final push.
Oh, wait a minute. Somebody's on point still? Yeah, I mean, there's definitely not enough people to take point, but I'm surprised that somebody's still alive over there. And actually, it's unfortunate. That is going to be a huge stagger. Really, I think everybody on Inarizaki needs to not push forward, right? They need to wait for that one run back, because one pick here, and that actually honestly just might be GG if they're out of position. It looks like we are actually seeing... Wait, did they... No, the names just look a little bit weird to me. I thought there was a switch, but there's not. So yeah, they really need to hold on, and they need to make this happen.
Yeah, they do have the energy cable along with that Trans Am. Huge DPS boost for that XZ to go on in, and they will go ahead and pop that. The dive comes out. XZ on the high ground on the other side as Dom has been knocked out. 87 HP. Hayes is the first one to fall for Inarizaki. Now it looks like things might be going the other way. No, the XZ Trans Am is enough to find the knock onto Baranox, and they're keeping this fight alive. But this is such a long run back for this Dom. His teammates are holding it down, though. We've got the Ashmar punch on the line as well. You have to imagine that Hades will be activated fairly shortly here as that punch is used, but Omni James is going to be able to find a 2 with that now. Screaming Nimbus comes up just too late. No one's on the point, and Gundam Unicorn will hold Inarizaki on point B with 3 ticks.
Wow, just an inch away from the point with the Screaming Nimbus. I mean, you can sit on there on point for a really long time, potentially get somebody else to come back and try to just help you, you know, just continue to hold. If you're going to feel like he picks, maybe that could have been a comeback, but that was just second. I mean, not even a second. That was like a fragment of a second away from being able to get on point. Very unfortunate. But I think just realistically what it was just none of those G maneuvers lined up. We saw some really good usage of the G maneuvers on the Inarizaki side, but if there was, for example, that Screaming Nimbus used in that final push, if it had been built a little bit earlier, I think that could have for sure been theirs, right? I mean, that was as close as it can get in a fight, but they just weren't quite able to get everything together, and so they're just a little bit short. Still, though, despite how difficult things looked for them on the first point, in Inarizaki, the fact that they were able to just like blitz the second point, they puts them in a pretty okay spot. Even if they didn't take it, 3 ticks is pretty good.
Yeah, I think honestly they got a little bit staggered and maybe caught off guard by how much damage was coming out on point A. But once it came down to point B, once the momentum shifted a little bit more in their favor, it looked like they were playing a lot more comfortable. We have to remember, this is their first match of the day as well, so we don't know if they're warmed up. We know that Gundam Unicorn on the other side playing up against Bozos, that has to be.
But if like you axe up top when James pushes to push them, you know.
But it looks like they will actually get caught. That's going to be one going down. One more, possibly it is the Ashmar falling in. Oh no, Casino was caught off guard too. So now only 3 members up, but they're in the middle of the rest of the team here. It's going to be a full 6-man. Oh, you gotta be careful. You've got the energy cable, you got the repair cable along with the heal being used early on. Hades will get popped. They're not actually using the Methasol. They don't have it, or they might have actually popped it onto someone else. I don't
know if our production can help us out here as to... Okay, so it looks like we are in the match. Okay, yeah. Okay, so the match has begun. Looked like there were a few technical issues, but we are back in it now. Inarizaki is going to be, of course, on defense this time around. It looks like we are now looking at somebody's stream. So we are going to be getting the POV of the Gundam Unicorn team.
Yeah, great dive coming out. You can hear. We heard the comms there, and that's actually a nice little POV to have. But it looks like the trades, though, ends up going fairly even, as Subject will fall as well. Luckily for him, he is behind that wall, so that's going to be a clean res. But as Baranox tries to push up, build some space for his squad, he ends up going down, though. But getting James back on in, or actually, excuse me, Subject back on in might be enough. Never mind, the Exia is there in the back line to finish things off. Kylar gets res as well. And so this is just going to be a retake now. 2 members still alive on the point, though, as the respawns are coming back with Nox falling. It does seem like the numbers might be there for the defense to hold.
Yeah, we got to see the nice little turret spot right there. I mentioned this before, but there's so many different places that you can drop that turret. Oh, and it doesn't look like they're even going to re-challenge A on defense. They are just immediately saying, okay, you know what? Forget it. Don't worry about it. But yeah, we are now again on the, I think the POV of Inarizaki, right?
Yeah, Inarizaki now just holding on that usual choke. 6 minutes and 20 seconds for Gundam Unicorn. You can see that progress meter there. Just a little bit over 75% after 3 ticks. That's all Gundam Unicorn need, and they have plenty of time to do it. These Ashimar nades are doing so much work. Exia going into the back line, and here is the push. Only one trade for Enders in the back line as the rest of Gundam Unicorn push up, finding one more knock, and now they are on the point.
Oh, yeah, this is such heavy aggression, and Inarizaki just really unable to stop this. I mean, look at this. So many people down on one side. This is going to be almost the entire team just upstanding on point. Nobody really taking the high ground, which is pretty interesting, but they are just trying to death ball on point. A lot of different angles that Inarizaki's taking to try and defend this, but there's not finding the picks that they need. There we go, getting at least one tiny pick on the RX-78, but I don't know if it's going to be enough.
3 ticks coming in for Gundam Unicorn now, just waiting out the rest of this Exia Trans Am, and they finish him off. That's going to be Gundam Unicorn taking the first map of this set.
Oh, and so strong as well. I mean, that was really, really dominant. That was essentially just one push onto, I don't know, kind of like a weird staggered push onto A, right? And then one real strong push onto B. That was just dominant. I mean, the offense coming out of Gundam Unicorn has been incredible this entire time, but Inarizaki just, I mean, despite the fact that Inarizaki made it work on offense decently well, they just did not have the answers on defense. I'm not even really sure what they needed to do. They just needed to maybe like readjust where they were holding. There were some really interesting brawls that it just seemed like maybe just didn't quite go their way, but that was definitely a little bit of a tough time for them.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that Inarizaki were kind of struggling getting their Exia into the back line to really try and deal with that high ground hold. For the Gundam Unicorn push, who we heard the comms itself, they were telling James to go in. They were able to go in, get a stun onto one player, try to focus him down, and then from there, it kind of did end up becoming a brawl after that fight, but it was still a nice little way to approach that, while on the other side for Gundam, for Inarizaki, they were just struggling, trying to find any purchase onto that high ground. The Dom for Inarizaki as well was not getting the damage off. You saw, I believe, towards the tail end of the take onto point A, finally got that streaming Nimbus up, but ultimately it's just about trying to find that opening. And teams, you know, if they're not playing that flanking Exia going to the back line by jumping over that wall, it becomes a little bit difficult to try and get purchase there on that high ground.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned it, how cool it was that we actually got to hear the comms. And, you know, I mentioned this before. I don't know. I'm going to say it a third time. You know, this team, they've played together, Gundam Unicorn, as a team in Battlefield. But I love hearing their comms. You can see how calm they are, right? Like, there's so many different types of comms. I love hearing comms personally. In any sort of team game, it's really interesting to see how the difference in, like, attitudes and volumes and if there's, like, one person directing things. But that seemed like a very calm team comms, right? Like, these players, I get a feeling they probably are friends in general, and probably have just played a lot of games together, because that was just some, you know, some real calm, like, okay, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. On the other side, you know, I've listened to the Inarizaki comms a few times, and not to say that it's like a worse comm style, it's just a very different comm style, because I know there's a lot of like, oh, he's over here, all right, he's low, he's low, I'm one shot, you know, just the classic kind of like louder comm style. So it's really interesting to see the difference between all teams comms. Hopefully one day we can get some team comms like set up, but I just love hearing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's always, I think, one of the biggest growing pains when it comes to competitive, right? Establishing your comm style, and I think establishing who's going to be the IGL, the dominant voice. And IGLing is a whole skill set in and of itself that goes beyond just gameplay. Again, a lot of times, you know, sometimes these captains might be, or the IGLs might be the DPS players, and you kind of really have to figure out who should optimally take up that role. So it's very difficult. I mean, I think a lot of times in Overwatch, you would kind of had like
but there's that big like box right on the left side of the waypoint if you're looking towards the enemy spawn, and everybody seems to like holding behind that, right? You get a nice angle on people who are trying to push forward through the center. You get a great angle on people who are trying to push over through that high ground, and with the Dom just sitting there, like you said, it's just a little just box of explosions that you do not want to walk through. And with well coordinated teams, which we see pretty much everybody who's made it this far, is very well coordinated. You can't really sneak around either over the walls, which we have seen, of course, a few people try. We've seen, for example, like Methodist, I think one time that was not doing, they weren't really able to make a lot of progress on the waypoint. They wanted to try to sneak like a back, plant in point A. You can't really do that against coordinated teams, right? You can't sneak over with like an Exia or a Flyer or like a Barbados or something. So realistically, you can get very much held in that one spot. What is this little dance they're doing? I like it.
Yeah, Forrest just showing off his tracking at this point. You can see, take a look at that. He does have a pretty large XL mouse pad there to be able to do it, and it looks like he does have a good 180 on it at the very least, but that's a very nice tracking. Beautiful tracking, some would say. But here we go, going into our first attack on Quarry. It is going to be Gundam Unicorns taking the first push out. We'll see if they want to try and put a focus onto that high ground. They are running that similar composition. They've been running Gundam all day as well. Yeah. That's one thing to note.
Yeah, I mean, I really like to see it. They are forgoing the more traditional. Oh, we're actually going to see a Marsai as well on this other side, but they're forgoing the traditional like support role a lot of the time. Go for that Gundam, which is working really well because we see the Sazabi meta. Getting rid, of course, of that shield is huge. But here we go, a very quick first push, and we're going to see actually not as many people behind this box as I expected. In fact, there's going to be a heavy push on the other side from behind it, and already they are breaking through that first choke.
See if they can get the res, though. The meth is not there in time with the cable to get him back up. It looked like it was just an LOS kind of disconnect, and he didn't realize it, but it's fine. They are winning out that fight, and they will go ahead and send Gundam Unicorn back at this point and regroup for themselves. So the waypoint's still not taken now for the other side, as it looks like, yeah, again, teams just not playing for that high ground. So Inarizaki glitch might actually hold up there for just a moment, but it's this Pale Rider in the back line dishing out consistent damage.
Oh, and interesting. Okay, I just noticed there is a role change overall on the side of Inarizaki. We're going to see X-Ray go back to the Dom that he's very well known for, and the fact they have no Sazabi means he's no longer going to be playing that full tank role. So they really are trying something completely different for this game to try to switch things up. Of course, we see a lot of the other players, like, for example, Listic still in the Pale Rider. Everybody's still playing usually their roles, but this seems to be working decently well. I mean, these pushes are working well. We haven't seen Gundam Unicorn able to find their full capture until pretty much as I say it.
Yeah, now they have their choice of the litter. Do they want to go to point A or point B? Right now, it looks like they are going straight for point B. Ashmar is already there. Use the transform to get in. The Thermite just to control space, but he has to back away now. The rest of the squad is here. He's got his tank up top. Down below for him to cover that plant, and the Mega Charge will go down onto point B.
I have to go.
He like heard you. He answered you immediately as we went to that POV. That was amazing. But yeah, point B. Of course, if you have a lot of like straight shooting characters, like for example, the fact that they have that Gundam as well, it can be so good at defending this spot. If you choose like either above or below with the G mover from that RX-78, it can completely cover the zone without being able to shoot it back. So I do love the fact that they chose that. It looks like they're holding this very well and a pretty far forward position as well.
Yeah, they've got a lot of G maneuvers coming online, about to get 6 as well. The Dom, the furthest one away, but just a few rockets will get it for him. So this is going to be a nice way to rotate through, and this might just be the Mega Charge actually going off with no contest whatsoever. Never mind, they are in, and here it is, the punch out from the Ashmar. They trade away for 2. X-Ray has gone down on the Inarizaki squad side, and so Gundam Unicorn will be able to secure this spot for themselves and move on to the second half of this map.
That was really unfortunate. We saw an amazing, actually, like preemptive Marsai hook, right? Not easy, especially after the slowdown in the last patch from that hook. We saw the hook land, and there was just no follow-up. I think maybe there was, maybe didn't expect the Ashmar to be like pulled the direction it was or something, but that for sure should have been a free kill. Instead, it turned into 2 free kills for the Ashmar after using that punch to confirm. So that was a really great comeback play, but it's just really unfortunate that Marsai wasn't able to pick it up.
Yeah, now the waypoint will be taken by the offense. You can see now the default hold coming out. be able to respond to both a point A or point B attack. That's going to be the offense picking up 3. James, the only one going down for that squad as Gundam Unicorn continues to charge forward. And it looks like the Mega Charge will be going down onto point B. Unless the defense has something to say about it.
Oh yeah, but again, these I guess you could say like offensive holds have been really far forward. We've seen some really heavy aggression from the offense, which has been working out pretty well. You know, holding people at angles that maybe they're not expecting to be shot at, seeing a little bit of an advantage. I'm surprised that we actually haven't seen a plant. It seemed like they had enough time, but they are just sitting here. Maybe I guess they were trying to regroup. They were just standing there, maybe a little bit out of position. I would say they're going to get a little bit staggered now.
Yeah, they're able to take back that waypoint, though, as the team comes on in. The G maneuver is still available now here for the defense. You can see we do have that punch along with the energy cable, the Screaming Nimbus, and that Hades for the Pale Rider. The Screaming Nimbus will prove valuable on either point, and he's going to have a nice drop down if it does go on over to B. So we'll see where the offense want to try and take this.
Yeah, so far we've seen most of the plants on this within this tournament on this particular point on B, right? A can be actually very easy to hold, but it's really hard to get that first like positioning for A. So we are going to see the plants at B again. We see the punches available for this Ashamar. That's going to be really valuable. It's basically just like the size of, in fact, it's going to connect on 2 people, and that should be able to confirm the other Ashamar. No, not quite great escape.
Inarizaki, though, blew almost all of their G maneuvers. They do have that Sea Snake still available for themselves as the res comes on out. It looks like the Mega Charge will get defused for the defense. We'll see how Gundam Unicorn approach this one now. Their waypoint has been taken away, but they will be able to reestablish that point once again. James getting that res onto 1, but the waypoint spawn comes out here. Now it looks like they're going to try and make a push through mid.
Yeah, Inarizaki really holding on really well on this point. You know, they were holding okay on the very first waypoint. Then they got run over a little bit trying to run back, which does tend to happen there. You know, if you lose that first waypoint, very often you do just lose that first point. But it seems like they got a much more solid handle on things this time. I really love how often they're retaking this waypoint. That can create some really obnoxious staggers, not just in timing position. An air fight over the mountain between the Ashamars. That was awesome.
It's not going to mount to much. They do have the health packs to heal off of, but here he goes, taking to the sky once again, trying to take that dual mid-air fight. The dog fight is going to go the way. It looks like the offensive Ashamar. The Hades has been popped, though, by subject. He's charging in. Transam is available for Inarizaki on this hole. They've even got the Hades going down now. Subject finds one more. The offense trying to find some purchase here as they do not get the Mega Charge down quite yet. There it is, going down onto point B. They did lose out on their waypoint, though, but their their Ashamar will go back to pick that one up, and he has the time to do so, getting over that mountain once again. But now, as Inarizaki want to come in for this retake, we'll see the armor keeping him alive. Enders will go down here as Listic finds the knock.
Yeah, this is such a tough choke point to try to essentially get out of, and it's so strange that we're seeing such of a huge fight at A when technically it's planted at B, but that does tend to happen. We see people controlling that space of A so they can flank around and attack from either side of B, but this is looking pretty solid here. I mean, this has been one heck of a brawl.
Oh, the Ashamar punch coming in. Does it actually disrupt? And it does. The Mega Charge defuse. 8 seconds left to go as Enders picks up 2 more. And it doesn't look like anyone is going to be there to touch the Mega Charge. And it will be Gundam Unicorn taking this map with some time left. Now it's going to be up to Inarizaki. What can they do on their offense?
Yeah, I do like this switch that they've made as far as their team comp. It seems like they were holding a lot better. 122 as far as time goes. Remaining time is not the worst thing in the entire world. You know, I think you got to be actually pretty decently happy with that as an Inarizaki. It's a weird thing to say, you know, being decently happy with, you know, not defending the objective. But a lot of these maps, especially I do think we see this a lot on Quarry, we don't see the full hold. Eventually, you do get like one plant. A lot of the destruction missions, you can really just plant and then hold that spot, and you're using it defensively to your advantage, even on offense, and it can be very, very tough to really hold something forever. So 122, not the worst thing in the world. I'm curious, though, now going on this other side, if we are going to see Inarizaki stick with that kind of like less tanky, no Sazabi comp, because it's going to be a little bit hard, I think, for them to push into positions if they don't have the Sazabi.
Pressure exit here.
Yeah, well, now we do have, of course, that Gundam being picked up once again for the defense this time around. So Zabi will be played for this choke, for this fight over the waypoint, the defensive side. We'll see if the Marasai pick will still remain true. It can be nice if you can just pull in one, get that initial pick, make it a 6E5, and then push for that waypoint.
I want to see just a compilation of all the Gundam Unicorn players just pre-round doing whatever they're doing. I think this is the most entertaining part of this. But no, yeah, we are going to see, of course, a few people kind of hiding behind this box once again. Somebody needs to actually get a name for this box. I don't think the enemies are going to come from the clouds. Maybe not quite looking the right direction. Oh, no, just kidding. Going for the axe. All right, and we're going to see the scan. That's a classic thing that we see. So we are going to see, yep. Oh, I love seeing it from the point of view of somebody else. Every single person being shown. You can see, 2 or 3 going through the right side and a lot of the others going through the middle. Love it.
Subject and Enders actually finding the first pick onto X-Ray, but Enders does go down for his effort. It looks like it was a nice hook from that Mara side. Glitch going down. They were calling it out. They wanted to focus down that Exia if he tries to go in for the dive. Pale Rider playing on the right-hand side with the backup support of that his extra unit now, as the Ashmore is going to try and go in one extremely low, and he'll find that pick, but he goes down. He is behind a wall. They should be able to get this res safely, as you can see now, as the trades are coming in, but might find some purchase here, continuing to push up, now going over to the wall once more. He does have that Molotov to try and control that choke, but they're still having to deal with the DPS coming in from the left.
Yeah, that was still, so much damage just within that particular exchange. They could potentially get a pick here and then start moving forward, but no, they're actually getting pushed back pretty significantly. Wow, an unfortunate place to land. Almost made it all the way over. Almost got res twice within that single life, but that can be a huge advantage to the Ashmar. And look at this. We're actually seeing maybe like a defensive hold on the stairs, which is not something we almost have ever seen, but it looks like they backed up. They do not want to fight that, especially with the Dom on the other side. You don't want to be the one trapped in the death box against the offensive Dom.
Yeah, it looked like Glitch tried to go in onto Gundam Unicorn there. Inarizaki just not able to make it past this wall quite yet. But for the Inarizaki squad, nice Ashmar Molotov just forcing them off for now, but that does leave an opening for them moving forward as the 3-man charging off that high ground, but the Hades has been popped from the Gundam Unicorn side, and Inarizaki having to deal with that, but they're not going to be able to. 3 members already gone down. The Hades finding one more. Now time is ticking away. The waypoint hasn't picked up, but it's a small victory that is quickly squandered away there as they get a nice little stagger there onto the Ashmar player.
Yeah, there's always the chance that you can get like some spawns like immediately as you pick it up, but unfortunately this didn't happen and they just retook it immediately. But this is the classic hold and it's working really well. We're seeing once again, it just, the Inarizaki, the switches worked out okay, but I just haven't seen a lot of the Marasai hooks actually land and then get the full confirm. So I think if they can land a few of those, the picks are going to be huge, right? That is the strength of that suit. We see the Ashmar punch just becoming available. We're seeing a lot of defense from inside the buildings coming out of Gundam Unicorn. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, they gave their life. Profi did at least for that res, but that means they end up losing out on the tank line. Trades back and forth. Still fighting over this waypoint. Unicorn going down. That's Kyler falling. Subject picking that one
Looks like they're going A.
And now looks like they're going to transition this for a point A push. They do have the Hades available, and so this will be a great place to put down that mega charge.
Yeah, if they can still fight off all these pests that are sitting around. They've got a ton of people coming up this left side ramp, but that is a really small area. If you walk up there, you can get hit by a lot of AoE damage from the Ashmar flames or maybe like a Dom. However, this is also a huge choke point on both sides for defense if they're trying to fight back into A.
And the defender's really holding it down here, and the Suzabi so low, but he will end up winning out on that duel. Still, it's getting into that territory where you need to go for the reset, or you're just gonna get staggered, and there it is, the stagger onto one final player. And now the offense has to reapproach this. It looks like they're gonna regroup to try and make a push for point B. They do have the Ashmar G maneuver available for this one. That punch can punch through the defense here. They're just watching their flank, and they might lose out on their waypoint. Unfortunately, there is someone coming in. Never mind. This is the defensive hold coming out.
Yeah, we see punch available on both sides, and we see a ton here on defense of the G maneuvers available. It's going to be every single one except for Sazabi just about now. The punch, huge punch, gigantic, and that is going to be all 3 of those players going down. They got to trade, and they might get the res, so actually that could have been a lot worse.
That's the last 2.
They will lose out on the Ashmar at the very least, but yeah, they didn't overcommit in terms of G maneuvers. They still have plenty available, especially strong ones. If you're trying to push into point B, that Gundam ultimate just covers the entirety of both the first and second floor. And so that might not be an option for them. Kind of want to see them maybe go for that point A once more, but it looks like the regroup from the offense to try and go for point B.
Yeah, this is going to be so tough, though. Like you mentioned, the Gundam is just doing so much. I really want to talk about this RX-78 pick later, but right now, I mean, we can just see how well it's working. I mean, we're seeing a lot of G maneuvers activated, and that's going to be well rewarded with the team kill. They've only got a few seconds left, probably not gonna be able to get on point. They would have to go to B, and there's so many people in this door, and that is going to be the game.
That's the game and the set.
One more time.
An amazing set coming out from Gundam Unicorn there, taking the 2-0 in this one, moving on now to the grand finals.
Wow, yeah, I am very surprised that this ended up being quite so one-sided. I do really like the switches that we saw. So I mentioned pretty immediately, right, that I wanted to talk about how the RX-78 impacted this entire game, and I think it was kind of the key to a lot of the victories on the side of Gundam Unicorn. It's pretty much not been picked, I don't think, from almost any other team throughout the entire tournament. Not that it's considered for bad suit by any means. It's considered quite strong, obviously. But the fact that it has that super strong ranged anti-shield, I guess, utility, it meant that players, on Inarizaki were not as comfortable playing the usual Sazabi build. It has been able to take down a lot of the tank players on teams like even like Bozos, right? For example, they've had to play very differently in the way that they approached things with that Sazabi. And there have been so many times on a lot of different points where the G maneuver, it can just control so much. It is the strangest G maneuver. I see people in chat, it's so funny. I see people saying like, oh, that G maneuver is terrible. I see people saying like, oh, that G maneuver is really good. And it can be both, right? It can be one of the best in the game. It can be one of the worst in the game based on where you throw it, where the enemy team is, at what point you're on, how committed to the point they are. But it has the potential to be extremely strong, and we've just seen that suit just do so much over the past few sets from the side of Gundam Unicorn. But still, a huge congratulations, of course, to Inarizaki for making it into this third place spot. They definitely, to me, still seem like a team that has to work out, exactly like what their core team is going to be. And on the other side, I think Gundam Unicorn, they've got that down like perfect, right?
Yeah, now they are on a collision course. The rematch up against Team Bozos in the grand finals. This time around, though, it's going to be a best of 5 for that set before